Do you feel like you're constantly talking to your kids but they never listen? In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the secrets that will help them start listening to you. It's frustrating when our kids don't listen to us. This might happen for a variety of reasons. Here's one reason you should consider. Let me talk with you about the idea of an emotional bank account. I think this idea of an emotional bank account first started with Stephen Covey. I love the concept, and I want to share with you a story that happened very early in my career as a therapist. I saw this woman in therapy who came in with her son. He was really out of control. He had very severe behavior problems. And he let me know early on, like probably the second session, he was not coming back. He was not going to be coming to see me, and he didn't. However, this mom, we'll call her Claire, she decided that she would keep coming. And I ended up developing this really neat relationship with Claire. As Claire began talking with me, she started sharing with me about some of the traumas that she had been through in her life. And Claire had been through many, many traumas. These started when she was really young and occurred throughout most of her life. I really cared about Claire, and I just remember at the time how fragile she was at first. There were so many times in those first few therapy sessions where she could not say anything to me. She could hardly get words out. She could hardly talk to me about these painful experiences. There would actually often be long periods of silence. I'm talking 20 minutes at a time, and I'm sitting there, I'm sitting forward, I'm looking at her, I'm staying engaged, but we're not saying anything. Often I was just trying to be with her, and sit with her. And my initial goal, I was just going to do anything that would help her connect with me and help her know that she could trust me, that I was a safe space for her. She needed that. In fact, my whole goal initially was just to create that safe space so that she could start talking about painful things when she was ready. It took a long time. It took a lot of sessions of this, but our relationship eventually got to the point where she could be very open with me about these really difficult things. I had been building up an emotional bank account with her. This came in the form of me listening to her, not judging her, empathizing with her, just creating that safe space with her. These were all investments that I was making in her emotional bank account. Eventually, because I had made so many deposits into this account, I could start making withdrawals. I had to say some really hard things to Claire, things that were really difficult for her to hear. She needed to hear them. We had to say these things to get her to move. I could only get away with this because of her trust in me. When your kids aren't listening to you, when our kids don't listen to us, try to find ways to increase your connection with them. Find ways to make deposits into their emotional bank account. Again, this usually comes in the form of listening, spending time together without an agenda, without lecturing. Once you've got that account built up, now you're more likely to be listened to. But this is because you have a relationship and it gives you influence. Point number 2. Another unique way of connecting with your kids, which will lead them to listening to you, is loving them in ways that they like to feel loved. I know that sounds funny, but here's a true story to illustrate what I mean. When Maddie was about 14 years old, I decided one evening to take her on a daddy-daughter date. I had been gone a lot that month for work, and I just wanted to check in and connect with her. I felt I missed her. So we spent a few hours at a local pie restaurant. And so after each of us ordered a piece of pie, I handed her this 5 love languages test for teens. You can get this off the internet. It's just a simple test. It's free to the public, but it talks about the 5 love languages. As a side note, I actually thought this was sort of silly. I was not putting a whole lot of stock into the concept, but I just thought it would be fun for us to do anyways. Let me just give you a quick summary of what the 5 love languages are. This is based on the idea that each of us express and experience love in different ways. So here are the 5 love languages. Number 1, words of affirmation. People with this love language they feel loved most by words. Number 2, physical touch. So these people experience love the most through physical touch, like holding hands or hugging. Number 3, acts of service. So these are people that love people by doing things for them. And they feel loved when you do things for them. Number 4 is gifts. Those with this love language feel the most love when they are receiving gifts. And it's also how they express love to others. And the last one is quality time. People with this love language feel the most love when you just spend time with them. The more time, the better. Well, after taking this test, I scored it. We're sitting there in this pie shop and I just had this revelation. I am a words of affirmation and physical touch kind of guy. I'm a hugger. But this was Maddie's lowest score. And no wonder she never initiated a lot of hugs with me. Her highest score was quality time. When I shared this with her mom, Valerie just laughed because Maddie just loves spending time together with her. It's what meant the most to her. So now all of a sudden this makes sense. So here's a girl that I thought I knew so well. And I just learned that spending more time with her meant way more than hugging her or telling her how much I appreciated her. Those were my love languages. 8 years later, it's been 8 years ago since we did this. We still remember and talk fondly about that date that night. Hey, let me just interject here and just ask you, what are your love languages and what are your kids' love languages? Let us know in the comments below and check out all the different pairs down below as well. So if you feel like your kids never listen to you, do something creative like this. Find ways to build up their emotional bank account. You just need lots of little connections. It doesn't need to be anything major. Find ways to express love to them in ways that they like. Hey, if you really have been struggling with your child not listening, start with these points. But I have more for you. I've put a link in the description to a free 4-part presentation that will show you how to connect with your children. Grab a pen and paper and click the link below and I'll see you there.